Story time about Bisa Butler, the master of the quilts. I met Bisa Butler after I became a partner of Unique Home Art Gallery, Scotch Plains. And my partner name was Monique. Because I was new to the game, she decided, let me take you to an event where you get acclimated about many different artists. We go to an event in Philly called October Gallery. Now at this time, October Gallery had rented out this place called Temple University. It was a school gymnasium. They had over 300 and something African-American artists, and I'm talking about the cream of the crop. The guys that was making $60,000 to $100,000 in one weekend. And that was my first time actually laying my eyes on some of the greats like Charles Bibbs, Larry Poncho Brown, Annie Lee, Kevin Wack Williams, and a whole lot more. But then I met this female who had this booth at the end. Her name was Bisa Butler, and she had these quilts hanging. Wow, look at the styles of art on these quilts. That was amazing. So of course, me and Monique invited her to do a show at the art gallery. So this was our first art show, and our artist was Bisa Butler, Frank Morrison, Joshu Lucas out of LA. And then in the basement, I had some of my art too. And at that time, me and Bisa became super cool. I actually took on the role as a manager. She was the first visual artist that I actually had an opportunity to manage. Now, of course, at that time, I didn't know that much about managing, but I definitely was a hype man. We did a show in Maryland at the African American Fine Arts. We had a booth together. I had some of my art and we had her quilts hanging up. And of course, her stuff was just amazing. After that, me and Monique closed down the art gallery, but me and Bisa stayed tight. And I remember one time that meant everything to me. It was a time when I was going through a divorce. And I was at the courthouse. Somebody was trying to get me for $400-something thousand. And I would honestly have to say it might have been my lowest point I've ever been in my life, where I felt like, dang, somebody is totally going against me, trying to just rip me. And when I went to court, of course I knew my mama was gonna show up. And my stepdad showed up. And at that time, nobody else was really coming around me. And of course, I wasn't just inviting everybody, hey, I'm going to court, y'all wanna go? So it's not just that. But Bisa showed up. When I saw Bisa, like, I almost wanted to cry, like, oh, you're such a good friend. That created a bond that could never be broke. So one day I said to Bisa, I said, hey, I want you to make me a quilt. And of course she looked at me like, oh boy, here we go. What kind of work this boy want me to do? And she was like, a quilt of what? I was like, quilt of me, do me. And she told me, turn my head to the side. She took a picture and it was like, boom. And she made this quilt. Now keep in mind, she don't be doing no custom quilts for nobody. So this quilt is amazing. And I don't know its true value, but I do know, based upon a lot of other quilts that she sold, my quilt is worth at least $50,000 or more. So fast forward, I started to work with different artists like Larry Poncho Brown, and we started to work on this project called The Golden Age of African American Art. And it's been 3 years and we went on tour and we did over 30 different interviews. And I called Bisa one time. Now, because this documentary is a timepiece where you had to be an artist of a certain period of time, she really didn't fit in that time era. But I was trying to advocate for Bisa to be on it. So I called Bisa one day and I'm like, hey, I've been interviewing these different artists and these artists made a whole bunch of money in their career. They've been selling prints and posters and all kinds of stuff. And I say to Bisa, why don't you sell prints and posters and blah, blah, blah? And she easily goes, no, I'm not really interested in that. I'm trying to do something different. So I was like, well, what is it? What you trying to do? So she says she was directing her stuff more toward museums and she had a whole different plan for it. Now, at first, after meeting all these different artists and seeing how much money some of these guys made, I'm looking at her like, Bisa, are you crazy? Like, you gonna miss this marketing train, this printing train, what? And at first I thought she was bugging. Fast forward, Art Basel happened. And I called Bisa one time and I'm like, hey, Bisa, are you going down to Art Basel down in Miami? And she was like, yeah, I'm on my way right now. So I'm like, do you have any pieces that's for sale? She said, Kilo, all my pieces are already sold before I even got there. So I'm like, what? So then my nosy self that's all about the Benjamin say, how much you selling your pieces for? Kilo, a lot of my stuff is 18 to 30,000 and 40 and all that. And she just going, and I'm sitting there going, what? And she also told me all the pieces that she had on display were already sold. I was like, oh, Bisa, you made it. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. You made it. So now, of course, with my busy life in music, film, and all this different stuff, I kind of sit back and I watch my friend from afar. Every now and then I go, what Bisa doing? I've seen the museum openings. I've seen her masterpieces are hanging and boo, I celebrate you, Bisa. Now the BMW dealership actually wrapped a BMW in her art. I was like, amazing. You're talking about an art teacher who stepped out and believed in her art. And look where her art has taken her. I celebrate you, Bisa Butler. Much love. See you soon. Peace.